Hello and welcome back to the MotorSpeedway podcast. I'm your host DD, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we will be talking about the IndyCar weekend at Texas. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready your opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant. How was your first IndyCar oval race besides the Indy 500?
Well, the finish says it all. I was not, I did not watch the entire race, partly because of all the advertisements and partly because of, I had some work, some chores to do, and I had guests over. But I think overall, it was a very exciting experience. Again, I'm still not fully convinced and sold by the oval racing aspect of it all, but I think with finishes like what we saw yesterday, I can, oval racing can win me over in another two races maybe.
My friend, you need to make a pilgrimage to the Indy 500 sometime, and you'll be
I
convinced
definitely will.
about oval racing.
Will.
But yeah, what a weekend! What a race in IndyCar. I was glued to my screen, even enduring the pain of the advertisements. I mean, talking about the advertisements, before we get into the top three storylines of the weekend, last time I had a little bit of a rant about the advertisements, and the reason, the bigger reason is not that oh, I can't watch the race, or the timing tower is not updating and things like that. It's just because, like, as a relatively new IndyCar fan, I want to learn more about the sport. I want to learn about the strategy, what the teams are thinking, and be able to follow all of that. And it becomes really difficult to follow, when we take breaks for advertisements at like the randomest of times, and it becomes really hard as a new fan to follow the whole race. And the only way to do that is through the timing website, and even that isn't the best out there. So it's definitely difficult, but I'm making do and I'm enjoying all the American IndyCar racing that I'm getting. But let's dive into it, right? The three big stories from this weekend in IndyCar. You have to give it, you have to give it up for Penske. Penske on top once again, but heartbreak for our Kiwi Scott McLaughlin. The man just he was fabulous throughout the race. Qualified P2, and I thought this man was gonna win once again. But Josef Newgarden took it away from Scott McLaughlin at the final corner. Basically, Scott McLaughlin was unable to navigate through traffic, but Joseph Newgarden took the advantage and took advantage of that and absolutely nailed the finish. You got to feel for Scott McLaughlin. He had a superb race, led for I don't know how many laps, but he beat everyone in the field that day. And what wouldn't I give to watch the Kiwi win two in a row?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Scott McLaughlin led 180 something of the 249 laps. So that are phenomenal numbers by IndyCar standards, by oval racing standards, by whatever standards you can count. And I mean, Joseph Newgarden, we obviously know, is one of the best drivers in IndyCar at the moment. He is a two-time runner-up, a two-time running runner-up, and he is long overdue another. He's overdue a third title. He won in 17, he won in 19, and he was due again in 21. So he wants that in 22, I guess. But I mean, what a race, what a finish. And for Scott McLaughlin, finishing second again in Texas
By
in his
67
second.
thousandths of a second.
Yeah,
67 thousandths of a second. That's bigger than the gap in qualifying we had between pole and P2 in Formula One.
yeah. I mean, it's just mind blowing. I could not bear to watch what happened there. As soon as Joseph
I
Newgarden
mean, we were texting that
crossed
Scott
the
is going to
line.
win another one, and then that happened. And I know you were a little behind
I,
on the world feed, and I texted, "Hey, Scott lost," and you were like, "What?"
I mean, imagine I started the day with MotoGP in Indonesia, then I watched Formula 3 and Formula 2 in Bahrain, then I watched Formula 1 in Bahrain, and it was what 1:30 in India when the finish happened, and I could not take it anymore. as soon as Josef Newgarden crossed the line, I just switched down, shut down my laptop and went straight to bed. I did overthink that incident a lot, but I did go to bed.
Yeah, but the silver lining was that team the silver lining was that Team Penske took 1-2, and it was a 600th win for Captain Roger Penske, and obviously everybody got a big old bonus at the Penske team. I think Roger
Yeah.
Penske gave everyone $1,000, and he gave Joseph Newgarden $600 for the win in addition to his salary, race fees, whatever that might be. But Penske is looking good, man. After struggling so hard last year, like I said, even last time. They're leading the championship. Obviously Scott McLaughlin is leading with 97 points, 28 points ahead of his teammate Will Power, and then the third place, Alex Palou, he's close behind Will Power at with 67 points. But Penske has the early grasp on the championship lead, and it'll be interesting to see how they manage the championship from here on.
Yeah, I think it's great news for Penske because even though Joseph Newgarden finished second last year, I don't think Penske were as close to, winning the title or even competing for the title in a manner that many would have hoped. Obviously, Joseph Newgarden did finish second and it went on to the final race of the season, but the gap was too big and it was only a mathematical chance, not a realistic chance.
Yep.
You know, so it's great news for Penske to get the 600th win and to start off the season in such a good place.
Yep, absolutely. Now let's talk about the second big storyline, and I feel this is just as big, probably bigger than the first
Yeah,
thing that
it's
we
bigger.
talked about, and that is the 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson finished sixth to take his first top 10 finish in IndyCar. Now Jimmy Johnson, I think there was a graphic that came up, in the middle of the race that showed how many laps Jimmy Johnson had at the Texas Motor Speedway, and it was over 11,000. The closest person with the most laps, the second place person, was Scott Dixon with just over 4,000 laps, and that just goes to show that the experience that Jimmy Johnson had from his NASCAR time came to the forefront and helped him secure that top 10 finish yesterday at Texas Motor Speedway. After what was a relatively disappointing season last year, I think this is a great start after all. And maybe we talk about a road course specialist. Maybe Jimmy Johnson is the next Chip Ganassi oval track specialist. And now people are talking about Jimmy Johnson winning the Indy 500 this year. Last year we saw Helio Castroneves. This year could be another veteran.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, first of all, this was Jimmy Johnson's debut, like Jimmy Johnson's maiden oval race in IndyCar.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, and given his NASCAR background, I was really surprised that he did not do ovals last year. It may be the fact that he was taking it one step at a time, and he did do IMSA last year in some races, so it may be a
Combination of factors, yeah.
Combination of factors. But to see Jimmy Johnson back at the ovals, to see him get a P6, I think there's no better crossover storyline. I'm sorry. A better crossover storyline is right in front of him, which is
Scott
McLaughlin. But
But yeah, coming from NASCAR.
coming from NASCAR, and given his last year's performances, no one would have expected him to be, that high. And I think, as you said, he's a real
no one who's followed him through his NASCAR career.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone who's followed him through his NASCAR career knows he's got the minerals, as we say. But anyone who hasn't followed him, through his NASCAR career might not have expected this from him. Yeah.
But I think it's great news for motorsports. It's great news for Jimmy Johnson, of course. And
great
bring
news
on
for
Indy
Carvana.
500.
Absolutely.
Carvana,
absolutely. But yeah, and now coming to the third story. Now, I want to preface this third headline from this past weekend, and that is we talk about Nico Hülkenberg being the super sub in Formula One. Dropped in. He had a 2-day notice, did FP1, did FP2, and then had a decent race. But Talk about super sub Santino Ferrucci. He didn't even have practice. I think he was called in on the morning of the race because of
Yeah.
the crash that Jack Harvey had in during
In
in
practice.
practice that morning.
Yeah.
And Santino just comes in, flies in, gets into the car, and finishes P9. The man started at the back of the grid, absolute last, and he manages to finish P9. You have to give it up for that guy. Santino Ferrucci just was on fire yesterday.
Absolutely. And I mean, coming into an oval, as a sub coming into an oval and then giving it a performance of a lifetime, basically. And I think, it's not surprising because Santino Ferrucci did put some great performances, some great unnoticed performances, basically, last year as well. I did not follow IndyCar a lot, but I did follow the basic, storylines and whatever. So, from what I can remember, Santino Ferrucci did have a good couple of races, a good performances last year as well. So, yeah, maybe some team picks him up later this year.
Maybe we'll see what Super Sub Santino has in store for us across the rest of the season. But obviously, those are the three big headlines. So a couple of the headlines that came across the weekend. Rookie Kyle Kirkwood impressed a lot on the oval before he eventually crashed out, probably due to inexperience. Really taking that high line with low grip and catching himself out. But he made a lot of moves throughout the weekend. And I think there was a point after the first round of pit stops, he went from being 23rd to being ninth, and putting in moves on all the veterans around him. So that was great to see. It was great to see also, obviously the other rookies like Callum Eilert, David Malukas, Devlin Di Francesco, and so on get some experience under their belts, and Christian Lundgaard. But it was really Kyle Kirkwood who was paving the way for the rookies yesterday on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think Kyle Kirkwood also had a decent race in Saint Pete. Saint Pete. I mean, again, I may be wrong because I'm not following it, but he did impress a lot of people, and he did make a
And this was
decent
his
amount
this was
of
his first IndyCar Oval race too. At the
yeah
top step
IndyCar
of the
Oval race.
championship, so it was pretty
Yeah,
great.
absolutely. So again, Kyle Kirkwood is impressing people. He is obviously the young guns, one of the young guns, and yeah, let's see what he has in store for us.
Absolutely. And the last bit of news that I have is that Andretti were facing reliability struggles after both Alexander Rossi and Romain Grosjean had to retire because of mechanical failures. So definitely, something to look into for the Andretti team with the couple weeks off that they have. Romain Grosjean would not be happy with that because he was really looking forward to mounting a title challenge after his first year in IndyCar. So a lot of work to do for the Andretti team, and surprisingly so, there is not a single Andretti driver in the top 6 or 7. I think the first Andretti driver, I can't even recall. I think there's only one Andretti driver in the top 10 in the championships right now, because the top two are from Penske, the next two are from Chip Ganassi, and then we have uh, Penske, Chip Ganassi at Carpenter, I believe. Andretti are really not there. They're definitely behind the other teams at the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Grosjean joining Andretti for this season would have expected uh, a better start to the season, but then again, it's a long season and it's IndyCar, so again, a very competitive field, and Andretti can make up their errors and be in the game again.
Yep, and that is what we'll all want. Sadly, again, dismal weekend for Arrow McLaren SP after taking a surprise pole. Felix Rosenquist, he had to retire, I believe. But we'll see what happens as the season pans out. Like you said, it's a long season, but nonetheless, it was an exciting weekend. I just hope there would have been a larger crowd at Texas. That was sort of disappointing, even on TV, to
Yeah.
not have to have such sparse crowds. So IndyCar too has a lot of work to do apparently, just like F1 did a couple years ago. But we'll see how IndyCar tackles this challenge that they have. There are obviously different rumors that we don't understand as new IndyCar fans. Obviously, it seems like Texas might be dropped and they might be moving to Milwaukee and things like that. But we'll keep a we'll keep a track of those stories too and bring it to you as and when we learn about them. But yeah, thank you, Vedant, for joining me once again to talk about IndyCar. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope we can keep following all these different motorsport series throughout the year, and bring it to our listeners. But yeah, thank you for joining me once again, and we'll catch you on the next one.